Vince and I are not smarter, more able, certainly not more wealthy, but we were just willing to take the plunge. We're not going to say you've got to stick it out, quitters never win and winners never quit. That's not what we're going to say.
Hello and welcome back to the Americans in Paris channel. My name is Molly Sabrier, and today we have part 2 of Stephen and Vince's episode on Marseille. Stephen and Vince spend half of the episode just kind of chatting, talking about their experiences living in France as a foreigner, and then towards the end of the episode they kind of wrap things up, bring it back around full circle, and talk more about Marseille. If you haven't already, please go back and watch part 1 of this series. I'll add a little card here at the top and a link in the description below. This is part 2, the final part in this 2-part series. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It really means a lot. Our next goal is 500 subscribers, so please help us get there. Without further ado, please enjoy part 2 of Stephen and Vince's conversation on Marseille.
You were saying about Marseille and the sunshine and thinking about LA, and what's interesting is, in this particular context, Paris is much more expensive than Marseille. In California context,
relatively speaking.
In California context, if I'm going to be by the water and the warm weather, it should cost more, right?
Yeah.
But Marseille costs significantly less. We're talking about a 20%, 30%.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unless it's changed recently, but at the time I was doing research. Vince and I were talking through a lot of stuff while he was there. He was reflecting on being new in France, and one of the things we were talking about was people no longer liking Instagram stories or no longer engaging.
But mine.
Right. And I said, well, that happened.
Because the vacation is over.
That happened to me too. But
I live here.
But part of that is realizing that that gap between geographic friends and actual friends. And geographic friends, they're, I would argue, 75% friends. They play the role, they give you gifts, they'll hang out, and there's nothing wrong. Most of human history has been populated by geographic friends. Only because of the invention of modern technology that we're able to live these far-flung lives, and as such test friendships to their maximum limit. That is, the people who you're still in touch with when you've been gone for 10 years. And I've been able to take that measurement, visiting Kansas City, visiting other places where I'm still in touch with people who I was in touch with all those years ago. They've made that extra effort, and I've made that extra effort to be with them. And Vince was starting to see the uncoupling of some of that, like, oh, well, we used to tailgate all the time during Ram season, and now, I'm not getting it. And again, we're not saying
now he owes me $400.
We're not saying that Instagram metrics are relate to friend metrics, but what we mean to say is, in a world in which it takes the slightest movement of a finger to hit like, and the slightest taps of fingers to ask a question or comment or show that you're engaged in some way. It doesn't have to be Instagram, it could be a text message, it could be an email, it could be a letter. But the point is that friendships that are not geographic take a lot more effort. And I think as a society, we're less willing to exert effort in general, much less with friends. And even if so, we might do it with one. And so Vince was witnessing the decoupling of the geographic friends and finding out, well, who was going to keep up and be friends with Vince in the long term,
or vice versa.
Right. And that's part of your identity when you relocate internationally. That's not a French thing, Paris thing, Marseille thing. That if you relocate internationally, you're going to find out who your friends are, and you're going to find out what kind of friend you are. So let's not make it all about other people. You got to find out if you're a real friend too.
It's an interesting time in your life. Part of it, I think, could depend on where you are in your life, age-wise, or culture-wise, or just intellect-wise, or romantically, whatever. It's interesting because I'm 56 now, and so I came here. I was 52 already, and to kind of get into a beginner's mind, language of culture. I'm playing a new sport, playing tennis. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I just want to talk about. I just want to share how difficult it really is. Keeping an open mind is huge. I mean, there's a lot of tears for a year.
Well, to be fair, Vince is more emotionally vulnerable than I am.
Or maybe I'm just more emotional.
I appreciate that about him because it challenges me to think more about how I express myself and who I share that aspect with. So I appreciate that about you. But one of the things that you were grappling with in that time period was who you are. And I had said, one of the lines that you pondered as I said it, I said, well, I have to realize some of them are jealous. And it's hard to be jealous of a friend because they're supposed to be your friends. You're not supposed to be jealous of your friends, technically. You're not supposed to. In the rule of friendship, rule number 7, you're not supposed to be jealous of your friends. But I was telling Vince that there are people who stopped watching your Instagram because they were upset about it. And I experienced some of that myself, but my rebuttal to that is we are not special. Vince and I are not smarter, more able, certainly not more wealthy than people we know, but we were just willing to take the plunge. And if that's one of the things that we push on this channel is we applaud bravery, and we even applaud retreat in following bravery. So if you go and you try living in France, you find out that it's not for you, we're gonna cheer you as you return back to your life. We're not gonna say you've gotta stick it out, quitters never win and winners never quit. That's not what we're gonna say. Bravo for being brave enough to try, and bravo for being self-aware enough to know when it's done. But most people, they'll say, oh, must be nice. Like, this is one of my least favorite phrases in the world. Must be nice. As if I have some special button, as if I have some special bank account, as if I have some special skills that they couldn't follow their own dreams. Instead of just deferring it to forever.
I'm essentially roughing it. I don't have a car.
Look at the size of this whiteboard. This whiteboard could be at least 2-3 times bigger. We've a paucity of Post-it notes here. We'd love to see more Post-it notes.
Things are cheaper here. Healthcare's cheaper.
I was gonna say, roughing it in Paris, it's a lot cheaper to live in France. I don't know how many times I say this. People look at you incredulous. You can live in Paris on the SMIC. So SMIC is the national minimum wage. We don't have an equivalent in America. We have a fixed hourly national federal minimum wage, but we don't have an amount that you should make enforceable by law in the United States. But that is to say, good luck living in a major city in the United States on the federal minimum wage, working a 40-hour work week. But on 1,600 euros, you could live in Paris. And I know because I did it. I did it living in small apartments, did it living in bigger apartments. But the point is, it's doable in part because things are cheaper. It's a smaller country than the United States, so scale of things also matters. But also, when Monsanto doesn't control the food supply, prices can be a little cheaper.
Great point. And the other thing too is that for me, when you asked me the last episode we were in, why stay in Paris? I can travel everywhere.
It's one of the most connected airports in the world.
I went to a Lumineers concert in Rome. Saw that they were playing. Got a ticket. It was 35 euros for front row. 35 euros.
Oh, for the concert ticket.
For the concert ticket.
How about the flight?
Well, that concert ticket alone would have been, where I was sitting, would have been at easily $75 to $100 in some small podunk town. But in LA would have been $100.
Is that because of Ticketmaster?
It's because of America.
Right.
Look for a flight of Vueling, I think it was, maybe, or Iberia, but it was...
it would have been Vueling.
Cost me $110. Had a little, room. It was it was just a guest house where I'd have a room. Whatever. Pensione. It cost me $50. Got there at 10 in the morning of the day of the concert. Went to eat some amazing, phenomenal pasta from Rome.
Roman cuisine.
For 12, with salmon, for 12 euros. Took a tram to the show. It was this kind of scenium. 5,000 people, so it was so intimate, and I was in the front. Everybody was lovely. Loved the Lumineers, singing English-speaking songs together, and they're so passionate. And then I went back to my room, got up. I had an early flight, 6 o'clock flight.
I was gonna say early call time.
So I had a 6 o'clock flight. Got up at 4. Walked to the train station. Got to the station, and I was back home. I was back home by 8 a.m.
This is not atypical.
The next day.
Vince does this kind of stuff all the time.
Anybody can do it. That's the thing. Anybody.
But that goes back to the point: is anyone can do it. How many people do it? And that's where I want to encourage people. If you are seeing someone's Instagram that makes you somewhat jealous, and you're detecting those feelings in yourself, ask yourself why you're jealous. Because it's unlikely that person is smarter, wealthier, better connected than you are. They are just willing to make the sacrifices necessary to do that thing that they want to do.
Well, to your point, look, every moment of going to the Lumineers or having a Paris day it gets lonely. I'm from LA, so it's I'm 9 hours ahead. It's a pain, but everything's possible here, which is I'm having the time of my life. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, really. Come on.
I know. Listen, the charcuterie platter here is problematic for me. To wrap up the episode, started with Marseille, we're ending with Marseille. If you had to leave Paris, Vince, would Marseille make your top 3?
Yeah, I could see that. There's a film industry building up in Marseille for sure.
Oh, no doubt.
So yeah, on that alone, I could. I mean, look, I mean, it's the South, so I mean, life would be pretty fun here all year round.
You're also closer to Spain and Italy down there.
That's true too.
For me, it would be a top 5, wouldn't be a top 3. I have too many friends who live up here, up north. So I am, let's say, my friend base is in Brittany, Normandy, Ile-de-France. I built a life up here. What do I expect, you know? And that would make it more difficult to then, not that Vince and I are both people, hey, we'll start over somewhere else. It's just harder as you get older. And I would be less likely to do that. I would be more likely to choose a place like Nantes, which I don't particularly, don't love it. I like the region. I like. There's a lot I love about
I like Nantes.
That would be on my list. That's something else. Then Steven field trip. You know, we'll do another town and then we'll review it. You know, Marseille. This is, I would say, more of a impression episode where Vince and I are sharing the catalytic effect that Marseille had. Right. I thought our friendship took a leap forward too. We keep in mind we'd known each other about 5 minutes. And then we went and take a trip together, and I have friends that I've never traveled with. But as you know, traveling with someone either will end a friendship or take a friendship to another level. And I got to know a lot of things about Vince. I got to meet the cat. Just had a great time. I'm going to end with this note. This is something that I want to note for if we ever do an episode about language. Molly and I have talked about this as well. Vince was all in, like jumping in with both feet. Maddie was in the carrier. We're on a bus going in the center of town, and the French love cats. And so they see the cat. Vince starts getting into like a 20-minute discussion with this old lady. We're like, we got to get off this stop here. I don't want to interrupt this conversation. But where the French would see the cat, Vince would jump in. And what I loved about watching him was he was much braver with his French at that stage than I was. When I was 6 months into my French journey, I was like, oh, I'm going to mispronounce it. I'm not even going to try. And Vince was just charging into, 2 hands, 2 feet. And I really admired that.
Sounding like an idiot.
Sounding like an idiot, but the point is that the French didn't beat him up.
No, they loved me for it.
They really appreciate it. And I want to encourage people. I always say in the language,
100%.
There's the gap between I'm afraid and I'm not afraid.
You got to do it.
Once you cross that line to I'm not afraid, you're going to make great progress.
You just have to do it. One thing that I would like to pass on is still times here where waiters will just insist on speaking English to me, and I will not respond in English at all. Even there's
you're Gandalf on that bridge. You shall not pass.
There's been times where they've come up like 3 times and still want to speak English to me, and I just will not speak English. If I feel like if I feel a little impish, I'll even just put a deadpan face and say,
I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna give Vince the last word. You don't appreciate what a gift you are to other people as a native speaker of a language they aspire to be a bit better in. You present an opportunity that their French friends don't have. Even just sharing a few words with you and testing out some of their skills, that's what they're doing in those circumstances. Not that, oh, his French is bad. It's, I want to practice English. And you have to strike that balance between letting those friends of yours speak English who want to practice with you, and also giving yourself a chance to practice in this language that you're trying out yourself. So.
I don't think he was trying. I don't think in most
case,
cases he was trying to practice his English. I think he was being a bit of a turd. Right. I love what you're doing. I think I'd love to. We need to get to know more about you. how you navigated in Paris. Anyway, you're a godsend. So thank you.
That's very kind, my friend. Until next time, watchers and listeners, à bientôt.
Santé.